Tell you what, the day that somebody goes, "Hey man, I want you on my arena team," I'm gonna look up the rules and it's gonna say something along the lines of, "You can only use stock weapons," and I'm gonna go, "Yep, that's the reason why they got me." They said you
You're
can
not
only use.
wrong.
They said you can only use the dumb shit, and then that's gonna be the first thing on someone's mind is, "Yep, the freak's experience there. Let's get him in."
They're gonna Google Tarkov dumb shit, and your face is gonna be there.
Hello and welcome to my 14th weapon guide for Escape from Tarkov. My name is Freakatoid, and today we'll be covering the AK-101 and the AK-102. This is going to be one of those videos where I cover a weapon most people may overlook, instead of picking one that only pertains to the early game. In fact, this is one of the few weapons you won't be able to purchase any mags for until you start hitting loyalty level 2 with traders. Well, let's get into it already. The AK-101 and AK-102 are pretty similar to the AK-74M and the AK-105 when it comes to their Ergo and Weight stats. The AK-101 is a slightly larger weapon when compared to the 102, but it's still a pretty lightweight option with a weight of 3.6 kilograms. The 51 Ergo that it has is also very nice considering there's a lot you can do to improve from this base weapon. The AK-102 is a slightly smaller version, and the reduced weight of 3.2 kilograms, paired with the slightly better ergonomics of 54, makes it a very handy weapon to use if speed is a must. The handling between these two weapons aren't the only thing in which they differ from one another. One of these differences is the fire rate that they experience. The AK-101 has a slightly higher fire rate than the 102. It's not a tremendous difference, but it does actually round out the recoil difference of these two weapons. The recoil of the AK-101 is only slightly less than the AK-102 in the cases where they are built the same way. The slightly faster fire rate of the AK-101 compared with the slightly lower recoil it has makes it have a very identical bounce to the slower firing AK-102 with slightly higher recoil. Don't get this mixed up when comparing these weapons to the rest of the game. Overall, they both have very controllable recoil, but are among the slower weapons in the game when it comes to the 5.56 weapons. You really shouldn't have a problem controlling them, no matter what stage of the game that you're in. As far as the early to mid-game AKs are concerned, the AK-101 and the AK-102 are the most accurate options available. Apart from the AK-12 and the RPK-16, they have the highest accuracy, or in better terms, the lower MOA, for AK weapons. The bullet velocity shines even higher, having the fastest speed out of all of the AK variants, including the late game options that is shared between the 101 and the 102. This makes these weapons extremely effective at longer range shots. You can very easily use these weapons to make sniper level shots on targets without much adjustment. Compared to the other 5.56 options, this trait isn't particularly unique. However, when paired with the lack of recoil and slower fire rate of the AK-101 and the AK-102, this is a weapon you can accurately full auto to considerable distance if you don't have the ability to place an accurate single shot. The AK-101 and the AK-102 have some of the most broad customization in the entire game. From all the regular AK furniture, having the muzzle devices of the 5.56 category, choice between AK stocks and buffer tubes, and even the ability to use AR grips with the right part, makes this thing one of the most adaptable weapons possible. You can do anything to this weapon, from looks, performance, whatever the hell this thing is, the sky's the limit here. Is recoil control all you care about? How about this 101 build? You want speed? How about this 102 build? Maybe you just want something accessible, or maybe the flea market is down at the moment? This particular build was something I came up with that can be purchased entirely from traders as soon as you unlock the ability to purchase these two weapons. Several other content creators who I sent this build to gave me positive feedback on it, which could just be because they're cracked at this game, but I trust them to give me good feedback. The moral of the story I'm trying to tell you here is that this weapon can be catered to however you like to play, while at the same time still being able to make what experienced players consider a meta build. Do what you like with these weapons. Anything and everything will improve it. .556 ammo is pretty much directly comparable to .545 ammo. As far as direct comparisons go, like BS rounds and M995 for example, the difference is extremely slight in terms of damage and penetration power. Sometimes .556 can have the upper hand, sometimes .545 ammo can. There really is not enough to warrant one being definitely better than the other. Where .556 takes the major advantage is with being more accurate and having a higher bullet velocity. By the time you unlock the AK-101 and the AK-102, you should have regular access to M855, which is a fairly strong round if you haven't found any of the high-tier ammo found in lootable or loose ammo boxes. Pretty much anything above M856A1 in terms of penetration will treat you fairly well. The issue with the 101 and the 102 in terms of ammo isn't actually the ammo stats at all. The real issue lies with the limited magazine choices. The .556 AKs only have 3 options as of right now. The base 30 rounder, the upgraded C10 30 rounder, and the newly introduced 45 rounder. Apart from the AUG, the weapons in the .556 category have access to 60 and even 100 rounders now. This puts the AK-101 and the 102 in a weird position where it has some of the easiest automatic fire to control, but doesn't have a large pool of bullets to fire at one time. I'll go over this particular issue a little bit later, but this limit on how much ammo you can use without having to reload is one of the issues with this gun that causes it to be overlooked so much. These weapons have a bit of a weird sound profile, matching the AK-74 sound profile perfectly. Here's an example. So the recoil is controllable, the range is impressive, and the customization is practically endless. What exactly could be the issue with weapons like that? Almost everyone I would talk to about these .556 AKs would give me the same feedback. It generally boiled down to, this weapon is one of my favorites, but I don't really use it a lot. A few comments regarded the slower fire rate that AKs have, while others would mention their issues with .556 ammo in general. The lack of magazine choices kinda place this weapon in the same situation as the AUG, where the highest ammo capacity requires 3-slot mags that just hold over 40 rounds, while not being able to keep up with the hailstorm of bullets that even the G36 can dish out. So then what makes these guns special to players' hearts despite the shortcomings? It's of course the arcade level of recoil that these things have. The AK-101 and the AK-102 can seriously be compared to Call of Duty recoil, and are probably one of the easiest rifles to fire in the game to hit consistent shots in full auto. In a game where everything can die with just a few bullets, having a weapon that practically does all the hard work for you can be a seriously satisfying weapon to use. It also doesn't need the biggest investment to accomplish. With the availability of AK-style mods you can find on pretty much all of the AI enemies, along with weapon part locations, you may not have to spend a dime to upgrade it. Despite how well these weapons perform, the AK-101 and the AK-102 are just really obscure. When experienced players first hear of an AK, their mind immediately thinks about the 7.62 AKs or the 5.45 AKs. On the other hand, players often associate 5.56 with weapons like the AUG, the M4, and the HK-416. This combination just makes this weapon less memorable despite having a good reputation. It's a rare case where nobody really has any major issues with the gun, it's just that other weapon choices end up excelling in firefights. It has a particular problem in Arena, where the fire rate is not a trade-off that people are willing to take over more forgiving 5.56 options. Call it a jack-of-all-trades weapon. It's good at everything, but it's just not the best. Overall, the AK-101 and the AK-102 are some of the better weapon choices in the game. The community do like these weapons, but there are some better choices that will make this weapon take a bit of a back seat when people are considering what to bring into a raid. I asked several content creators to get some more feedback on this, and here's what some of them had to say.
I think they're great. I enjoy the hell out of them, actually. I think the more AK variants, it's pretty cool. Especially like 5.56, it's pretty cool. I'm especially the type of player that likes to play with a different gun every raid. I don't like to stick with only one gun.
What do I think of the 5.56 AKs? I think the mag capacity was holding them back, but now that they have 45 round mags, it's definitely more viable, and they're cheap and they're pretty cheap to build.
What do you think of 5.56 AKs? They're very fun, very controllable. Fire rate a little slow.
In general, what do you think of the 5.56 AKs? They are incredibly mid. Incredibly mid. It's just the slower fire rated M4. If you're gonna like break it down to like core mechanics, right?
.556 AKs, I don't use them often, but I do enjoy using them every once in a while. Fire rate is a bit slow, especially for 5.56. If 5.56 was buffed a little bit more, I would use them more often. But I do think that they need to be in the game. I have not used them in Arena.
How often do you use them, EFT or Arena? I haven't actually used them in Arena. If I need a budget gun, I'll use an AK-101 for sure.
How often do you use the AK-101 or 102 EFT or Arena? Not much. With the 5.56 guns with fast fire rates like the HK and M4, I tend to use them over the AK 5.56 variants.
What is it, 650 that it shoots RPM at? It's just not enough, in my opinion. Should be better options. I would say I'd use it more in Arena because it's more of like a novelty gun, but other than that, it's not really worth spending ruble on in like the main game.
Why do you think they aren't used very much? The fire rate in the 5.56 balance of the actual bullet itself.
Why do I think they're not used very much? Probably the mag capacity. That was probably one thing that was holding them back. Now that they have the bigger one, that might be used more. Fire rate might be another thing. You can run an M4. I think the M4 shoots faster, and then obviously there's HK.
The fire rate. I think the fire rate. I really think it's just fire rate when it comes to 5.56 and that round not really performing well. At least you can get more rounds on target. I'm gonna say fire rate. Definitely fire rate.
Why do you think they're not used so much? There's just better options for the same amount of money that you would need to trick out the same gun, basically. In my opinion, right, you could get a cheaper option, which is a G36C, and it has a better fire rate compared to the AK-545 or 5.56, right? G36C can also get like a better scope on it and doesn't need like all the AK modifications that you need for that. There's just better options.
That's a good question. No. I think faster fire rate is easier to control. And honestly, especially with how the recoil is set up in Tarkov nowadays, I feel that you shouldn't be having any recoil issues. I feel like they have fixed that issue. There used to be a big skill gap in recoil, but now there's not. Recoil is fairly easy in Tarkov now.
They are good choices for newer players struggling with recoil. Yeah, definitely. I think the overall just price is nice. It's not a huge loss if you die with it, and it's still very viable.
Do you believe they are good choices for newer players struggling with recoil control? 100%. One of the many benefits with the 101 and 102 is the recoil. It's very, very controllable, which I think it makes it a very fun gun to use and makes it beginner friendly or somebody that can't really control recoil well.
Oh, and the matters of the AK-102 and 103, no. They're definitely more of aggressive weapons. You gotta be way up close, because they just kick like a mule for no apparent reason. Even though 5.56 is not even like a heavy cartridge. Makes sense when it's in an AK with like AK-47 with a 7.62x39. It's a chunky bullet going through the gun, but 5.5, it's zippy. No point.
The 5.56 AKs have a lot of properties that are great, but not perfect. They are some of the easiest weapons to modify to fit exactly what you need without sacrificing what they are already capable of. They are extremely controllable, lightweight, and accurate weapons that can be catered to excel in most situations. The broad amount of customization that these weapons have makes sure you can always build the weapon exactly how you want it. 5.56 ammo is also one of the easier ammo types to find in ammo boxes, so it won't be hard to locate decent rounds. The downsides, while minor, do make an impact on how these weapons are perceived. The fire rate is on the slower side, which may cause problems at closer ranges, and the reload is also a bit on the slower side, especially when doing a full reload. They are not available for purchase until loyalty level 3, so they are a bit of a late game weapon choice. As a whole, these weapons feel so damn good, it's almost like they're trying to help you even if you've never used it before, and it can quickly become one of your favorite weapons once you do discover it and give it a chance. If these particular AKs were available any earlier than it currently is, I'd imagine it would just be dominating the early game of Tarkov. If you have any issues with the recoil in this game, or just need something that doesn't require a PhD in Tarkov to use effectively, I would seriously consider giving this weapon a try. I hope you enjoyed the video, and perhaps learned something new. Be sure to subscribe.